Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to another day of the Riyadh Masters 2023 play-in stage, and it is of course MLP, Dota, and John X5 joining you on the B stream once again. Jonathan, welcome back, sir. Another brand new day of play-ins for the Riyadh Masters, sir. How the hell are you doing?
Feeling great. You know, it's our last day of play-ins here as well. So this is when we figure out who our top two are going to the groups. This is when we figure out who are playing those decider matches, how that's seeded, and then who else is going to get in, because we only get the eliminations once we get into those decider matches. So a lot in the line. I do believe Group A is a little bit more locked in, so this first series is mainly just for seeding. But Group B, there's a chance for some really quirky, I don't know if ties are possible, but very quirky setups and who does go through into those guaranteed group stage slots. So it should be a good day here.
Yeah, it should be. I mean, we've got the format on hand right now as well that we can bring up to have a bit of a refresher as to what's going on, and here we go. What is the format, Jonathan? Of course, play-ins is where we're at right now. This will be the final day of play-ins, where 4 teams will proceed straight through to the group stage, and I believe the other teams are obviously going to have to play some deciders, Jonathan, but those 4 teams obviously going to go to the group stage, and, well, then you're going to have those teams winning through the group stage going to the upper bracket and lower bracket of the playoffs, of course, and that's going to be a total of 12 teams. And then, obviously, a grand final, Jonathan, is on our hands after those playoffs. You know the drill, but it's going to be a long, long tournament with this kind of format. Very exciting stuff.
Yeah, it's hard to imagine how long it is, considering that, again, the play-ins are 2 days. It's been a whirlwind of a day yesterday for the play-ins, of course, so keen to see what happens coming out here as we build into those groups. Of course, we can take a look at our prize pool distribution coming out here as well for those teams that do rank up, get into the group stage, or even just go home early. They still get a little bit of a cut of that prize pool down the line.
Prize pool? Well, what is the prize? No, never mind that, Jonathan. We'll look at the teams first. My goodness, you're getting ahead of yourself. These are the teams right now playing in the play-ins to try and get through to the group stage of the actual tournament. And well, as you can see, a lot of big names here. A lot of teams trying to fight their way through to the next stage of the tournament. And it's getting rather spicy. Like, I believe Team Astra and Liquid have already qualified to the next stage, but we still have 2 teams that we have to figure out who is going to make it. And of course, this is the next stage of the actual tournament. This is the group stage where the teams that have already qualified are just sitting there waiting right now. Of course, you have Game and Team Spirit, LGD, Evil Geniuses, Tundra, BetBoom, Talon, and Shopify Rebellion currently waiting in the group stages for the next 4 teams to make their way through, and obviously the 4 after that who are going to be playing through the deciders. Of course, I think we can have a look at the prize pool as well, perhaps, and see how much money is on the line. And there you go, Jonathan. First place is $5 million. Then 2.5, 1.7, 1.2. I mean, all these numbers are relevant. I'm not going to go ahead and read all of them, John, but these are some very big numbers.
They are absolutely massive. Like 7 to 8, you're basically taking home the entire prize pool for a DPC major, of course. Yeah. Anyone even at 17 to 20, you've earned more than a single tour in the DPC. Yeah. So it's a huge amount for all of these teams to be in. Of course, you'd want to take lion's share at number 1, but anywhere in the top 8, I'd say, or anywhere in the top 14, you're actually pretty happy. So, I mean, you want to drag yourself up, but that's the way the cookie crumbles.
Just make it to the tournament. You'll probably be happy with the money they're offering, John, I'll be frank, because we can have a look at the schedule as well for today, see exactly what's going to be happening on this stream and what kind of games we're in for, because that's what I'm excited about, John. I need to see what games we've got coming up. What is our schedule? Because TSM is going to be up against Virtus.pro, and then you've got Team Secret up against 9 Pandas. Then we've got some... I suppose they are considered decider matches later on. Once we have the other teams that haven't directly qualified over, they are going to have to play some decider matches later on, which is going to be very, very exciting. And I believe those decider matches are best of 3s. We'll get into that a little bit later on, because I believe we also have a draft on hand for our first series between TSM and Virtus.pro. So enough talking from us, Jonathan, or more talking, because we have a draft going on.
Yeah, should be interesting to see how these 2 teams adapt. VP and TSM not having the best of times so far at the start here for the play-ins, of course. Both of them locked in to have to play those decider matches. Again, Group A, not much flexibility here. This just determines seeding. If VP manages to find a win somehow, they can drag themselves up, maybe look for an easier matchup up against who ends up in the bottom 2 for the side of Group B. So even in that factor, if you still want to keep your hopes alive to group stage, you've got to find a good 2-0 win here for either side. Still opening up with those bans. TSM taking care of that Timbersaw and the Snap, which we have seen rise in popularity as a core. VP, of course, taking care of the Undying, leaving a few options here. Stuff like Beastmaster, still available. Doom, maybe Techies is a priority. But the initial bans have shifted. You know, we're not seeing stuff like Morphling anymore with post E-patch nerf, not much Medusa. So we've kind of stabilized into a different set of heroes here, Mike.
We certainly have. Virtus.pro, have a bit of a think about this the second ban now before we can get into the picks. So we're going to get rid of the Enigma, which has been quite popular as of late, and they're going to go right into a Broodmother for TSM. And, well, we know how much they love running this in the off lane. TSM, obviously, Kasane is a great Brood player. And mind you, I think even Tomato, I'm not sure if he wants to try and run it in the POS 1, but I'm sure he could if he really wanted to. But generally speaking with TSM, you usually will see Kasane take that for the offlane. And he's one of those disgusting kind of Brood micro players, right? Like, you're going to have the spiders just flying all across the map. He's going to get so much information for his team with this hero. And yeah, this could be a big problem for Virtus.pro already.
Yeah, it's really annoying here to have to deal with. I love the solution from VP, just going into the Keeper of the Light and the Ember Spirit. So you have a very stable combination, the chakra spam with Sleight of Fist. It's a little bit funky with Ember into Brood now, just because, again, the increased attack interval for Sleight of Fist means it's weird. You get more invulnerability time for a Sleight of Fist. At the same time, you're wasting a lot of time every time you spam one of those Sleight of Fists out. It's a little bit strange. I'm keen to see how much that affects like how the Ember plays here. As TSM pick up the Chen, going all in on a little bit of a Zeus strat coming out here. We've seen the Chen before. We've seen Secret in particular pick it up. Of course, Puppy loving that hero. Not sure how to feel about it overall. I mean, this should be our Whitemon Chen coming out from TSM as well. Has ran this a couple of times. It can provide a lot of aggression early. I do feel like you want to have a good lane when you start with Chen, right? Like you got to find a nice influential creep. You got to try to dominate that lane for your safe lane. Get your farm going, as you are a relatively fast farmer now on the Chen, and start to scale up with a lot of sustain for your team here.
Yeah, certainly so. Very interesting how much Chen's been popping up as of late, but you love to see it, and it's a very scary kind of opening from TSM's end. Mind you, they have chosen Brood Chen into a Coddle, and an Ember Spirit for that matter, so like the D push is certainly there, but it kind of goes back to what you just mentioned, right? Like, you're not necessarily looking to go for this kind of crazy push strat by any stretch, but it's the items Chen can farm up to sustain his team throughout team fights is pretty annoying for sure for Virtus.pro to try and deal with. At least they have the answers towards any kind of push potential, right? Like, you've got this crazy high ground defense on Virtus.pro already, so you've got that kind of going for you, but I don't think TSM is necessarily going to be focusing on just pushing towers down that early. It might just be more about getting those big sustain items first and kind of making those get to work, as we are going to have one ban to come out before we can see some more draft picks happening. I just say as well, John. I mean, in this kind of meta where you're seeing Brood and Chen and all these heroes popping up, could you imagine if Necrobook was still in the game? Like, if we could just buy Necrobook and all these heroes, how great would that be?
It's absolutely terrible, Mike. It is not. It's not good. It's not good. Why do you want to make the game even more predictable?
Because
you know, these heroes come out. Oh, let's just get Necrobook. Oh, look at us push these towers. How fun!
See, back in my day, John, back in my day, when I used to play Chen and Broodmother, when I actually had the skill to micro these kind of heroes, Jonathan, I used to always build Necrobook. That's how I used to win the game.
You know what the sad reality, Mike, is that anyone who thought of themselves as micro god in Dota 1 were just really bad Warcraft players. Keep that in mind. That's why everyone played Dota. As the next picks come out, Virtus.pro, they do pick up the Batrider, which is one of the more broken heroes left behind here as well. Good control to come out. Pretty decent in lane. I love the solution from TSM with the Terrorblade and Rubik. You have a lot of good spells to steal. You don't really have a big save for the Lasso coming out, although the lift back, I suppose, can maybe help you. A Terrorblade into a Batrider lane, maybe not the worst thing in the world for TB, but also not the best once the Napalm spam is there, or even just going for Flame Break always hurts the Terrorblade. So I do still like what's coming out here from VP, just a tad bit more. My concern with TSM here is that with a Rubik pick, you don't have the best lockdown for an Ember, right? Maybe you gun for an Orchid build up here for Kasane to get a silence off onto the Ember, but beyond that, you don't really have hard stuns. Perhaps a creep army from Chen can get the job done, but that's also not the most reliable. So it does feel like you're going to be getting a lot more out from VP and trying to just be mobile in mid for Squad 1X. He's just going to be free to dance around. And it's awkward when you think about Sleight of Fist, because suddenly you go in and you Sleight of Fist this creep army, and then your attack interval is so damn slow that you're kind of stuck there. You're not doing as much DPS because it's taking way too much time. I don't know. I like that VP go into the Primal Beast, but that does leave a question as to where they're laning these heroes. Is it going to be a Batrider support? Are we going Ember safe lane, perhaps?
Well, I don't know. You made an interesting point, right? Because if he does Sleight of Fist like the Spiderlings from the Broodmother, that might last a very long time, that Sleight of Fist, if it's a bunch of Spiderlings just grouped up together. It could be very interesting. Like, he could really mess himself up if he gets the wrong slide off. We'll have to see if it does happen. It's TSM, they will focus on some more position 1 banouts. We'll see the PL and the Brood, the Bloodseeker being removed. VP focused on the mid pickups here for Bryle. Puck being removed already.
10 seconds.
It's focusing on the specialties of Bryle.
5 seconds remaining.
It's a weird draft as well. Like, it feels like you want some kind of mid that can set a tempo for your team at the moment. So someone that can fight, right, with this Rubik Chen. Though you might be playing a slower game as well for TSM. Like, you might just drag this out to the mid game at the very least before you start to group up and get active. One of those styles of draft, whereas Virtus.pro, on the other hand, they have that kind of draft where you get past the 10-minute mark and they just want to run at you.
Yeah, they are looking for a lot of fighting here on VP. Like, it's not just Chakra Ember, it's Chakra double Flame Break coming out from Batrider, which can feel crazy. Chakra onto a Primal Beast with a Trample. There's a lot of uptime here for VP to run around. And that pacing could throw a wrench in TSM. They still have this really good push by, I want to say 7 to 10 minutes if your Terrorblade's feeling frisky. And if Tomato wants to join in with an early Metamorphosis and say Dragonlance or Yasha, you can just shove in mid with the Chen army, with the creeps, with the summons from Broodmother as well. But you have a lot of solutions from VP.
5 seconds.
Let's see if they're really going to go all in on that. And the mid matchup for Brawl is maybe the harder one to read. Again, you're still probably expecting Batrider support with a Coddle 5 here, and more than likely a Primal Beast offlane, but you do have some flex. If the situation does call, you can still run the Primal Beast mid, Ember safe, and then you run a Coddle Ember lane very early on. That's pretty hard to shove away, even as a Broodmother. So you can kind of cause issues here for Brawl's last pick.
Oh, Brawl's having a bit of a think about this one. I mean, against the Ember, do you just want to choose another spirit hero? Like, I suppose you don't, because Chains is just such a nuisance towards heroes like Void Spirit, for example. Obviously, Storm was already banned out. Well, not going to bring up Earth Spirit here, because there's no point. What other heroes have we got? Against the Ember. You don't have Snapfire either, which is a little bit annoying for TSM.
You have something like a Lush, but it doesn't feel like the most amazing Lush game. Although if you are expecting Ember mid, Ember versus Lush is a pretty good lane for Bryle. You wanted to get that done. I don't know, maybe a Void Spirit could be decent in terms of setting pace, but it does provide you backline jump for the Coddle as well if you're worried about that. I don't see anything that directly fixes. I feel like if you're just going all in with your tempo here for TSM, the Lush rack probably fits in best, as you just get more push tempo from mid. Run around, they'll go with the DK instead, which still provides you with push tempo on mid. Stable matchup against Ember Spirit. Pretty alright if it's a Primal Beast, but ideally you just go with the Ember. So you just Dragon Tail, stun, deny, win out your lane. You can scale up pretty nicely as well with DK with, what is it, the Manta Octarine Ags build. So almost 100% uptime on your Dragon form. You just kind of scale up and run down. Really good front line to play with the healing coming out here as well from TSM.
What the hell? Wow. We have a Troll Warlord position 1 coming out from VP. Now this is something I can't say I was expecting to see today. This hero has not felt good for a very, very long time. And I can confidently say, Jonathan, I don't think it feels very good right now. VP, they may feel like they've got a, I don't know, maybe they've just got this troll in the bag, they understand what they're doing with it, but I haven't seen a good troll game in a very long time, I'll be frank, John.
I haven't either, Mikey. I don't know, it's not a hero that I think works out. I think the rest of the draft here from VP is actually pretty damn solid, but not the biggest fan of this troll. I don't know, like, we've seen this troll multiple times as well from many different players trying to make it work, and it just feels like his kit is weird. You know, it's like your ultimate is kind of griefy. Your core-to-core matchup against Terrorblade's not particularly amazing. I suppose in lane up against a Broodmother, it does alright. It's got wave clear down the line. You can get a self-dispel on hand as well once you get your Ags up, so you can kind of manage all of those mischances coming out from Kasane with a Silken Bola. I think the one thing with Troll that we need to see VP utilize is threat onto towers. You can push pretty fast and threat onto Roshan. With a couple of items up, you want to probably take a team fight, try to secure Rosh, run down. Most of the momentum from VP though will come from the rest of your heroes. Like this combination of Primal Beast and Ember, I feel, is pretty damn potent, and that's where TSM has to watch out. If you get a runaway start on squad and unnoticed, then this game can feel hard to contain very early on.
Oh, well, with that, John, I believe Game 1 is officially underway, so let's head over to that. TSM versus VP, Game 1. We're into it, Jonathan. Very, very interested to see exactly how this game pans out. It's Virtus.pro, they do not want to play a long game, which is exactly what TSM wants to do this game around, is they might run right into each other, and it seems like they will. Kiritich already kind of getting caught out. Is he going to go down, though? He's been slowed up quite a lot, but there's going to be a big onslaught through from Noticed. Oh, it might not be enough, though. Kiritich still running, still trying. Oh no, the flame break helps him. It won't matter though, Brawl can't reach for the Dragon Tail. He's somehow going to survive that.
30 seconds.
Lives through, wastes a couple of resources. That was a blood grenade being thrown out as well. There's not enough output, not enough chase. Man should disengage early enough while trying to take the Watcher. Should still get a 2-for-2 in the bounties here. So not too bad for VP, and you have enough time for Kiritich to actually reset. Like, he can just walk back to Fountain. He's not going to lose time into the creep wave.
No, he certainly isn't. FNG still on the high ground of that Radiant Triangle, seeing if maybe he can sneak in to get that bounty. Meanwhile, bottom, Tomato and Whitemon are going to show up going after Seiyu. Seiyu seems like he's going to be just fine to walk out of this, but does take a fair bit of harassment. Nice little D ward from FNG in the mid lane as well, getting rid of the ward there for Bryle. While we're here, we'll start with the bottom lane. Of course, Whitemon and Tomato against Noticed and Seiyu. Should be a pretty interesting lane, I think, for VP. Like, this Coral Primal Beast off lane can be very challenging to play against, especially once you've got a few points in the Chakra Magic. See how it does go. For now, it seems like Whitemon and Tomato are going to try and get aggressive early on, while they can still press an advantage. But I think as the levels go up on the VP end of things, this is going to become a very scary lane, as Whitemon already getting jumped by the onslaught and the blinding light of Seiyu. He's going to be fine, but he does take a lot of harass.
The funny thing here for TSM, I think this Penitence plus Reflection combination is pretty funny. Does Penitence affect the Reflection illusions? Did they get the bonus attack speed?
I think it may. That's actually pretty clever. I didn't think about that.
I think it is. That's pretty funny. They've managed to keep Notice down. Less than half HP, already down to just the one Tango as well. Whitemon still has to watch himself.
He's gonna be alright.
That is so funny.
It's a cheeky little tactic. I mean, I've got to see a few more points in the Penitence to really be able to tell if his attack speed is going up on the Reflection, but we'll see. I'll look back later on. As Brawl going up against, of course, Squad 1X. The squad, for now, gonna have a pretty boring lane. It's DK versus Ember. There's not really much you can do. You're gonna trade harass, you're gonna trade a bit of farm, and that's probably about it until the supports are happy to rotate, I think.
Yeah, it ends up being a better lane for the DK. Just Dragon Tail, clear out the creeps, deny, but shouldn't be too bad for Squad 1X. I'm not sure which it is. It should be just perfectly manageable. Keep farming up, keep playing with your Sleight of Fist.
Whitemon ends up already finding first blood on the Chen. He actually had the Kobold Foreman to chase down the Keeper of the Light with the bonus movement speed. And that's how they actually got the kill. And that bonus movement speed gave him just enough to be able to get the harassment off on Seiyu.
And look at that Micro going for the small camp pull as well. With a little Foreman. Getting a lot of efficiency out for Whitemon. Already a decent enough start here coming out from TSM. That bot lane for Tomatoes lined up pretty well. It takes a few levels for VP to kind of get going with the Chakra and the Trample. Level 3 starts to feel better with maybe a level 2 Trample or a 1-1-1 build on Notice, but it's a little bit tough. You know, you're going to start jumping into Metamorphosis TB. That starts to get a little bit scary.
Jump in again. They've got the Trample this time. Reflection will fly out. And Seiyu is dropping very quickly. Tomato going to finish off the job and now Noticed. Oh, he's on Notice, John. He's going to run. Not safe right now against the Metamorphosis TB. He's going to be fine, it seems like, but it's just going to be a lot of harassment his way. And you know what, John? I said the offlaner VP might be able to pull off some great stuff, but they've hit this level 3 mark on Notice. They're not finding the openings they're looking for. Like, they'll continue trying for Whitemon on the Chen, but he continues to just kind of bait them into feeding more kills their way.
And Whitemon's positioning is just really good. He's staying very far away from the Terrorblade, dragging the attention to him, forcing the onslaught onto him in the Trample. If you're not running down the Terrorblade, you know, not abusing the fact that he doesn't have too much HP early on and trying to magic him down, then Tomato is perfectly happy. Top of the CS board right now, having the best time of his life. Up top, not quite the same story for Kiritich. You're a Troll Warlord up against Broodmother lane. Sure, you can still somewhat handle this lane, but it's not the best.
Blood Grenade is going to land from Ari, but they won't be able to get in range to get some more harassment off, as FNG was there to save with the Flame Break. Even the safe lane, it's pretty rough. Like, Troll Warlord, the one kind of saving grace for this hero is it's very dominant during the lane. But Kasane and Ari have just had such a fantastic time in the off lane. It's sure, like, the CS is quite even between Kasane and Kiritich, but that's not good news for VP. It seems that Kasane is slowly starting to take over the... Kiritich does get close. Kasane immediately realizes he can get so much harassment off, but now he could be in a bit of danger. Ari is still there though to help out, so they aren't going to make the big jump in. VP just trading harass. Problem is though, against the Broodmother who's just getting constant regen from these spin webs, it doesn't really feel that good.
No, it certainly doesn't. You don't even have the insatiable hunger yet for Kasane to really dish them damage in. Although
Rockambola does land. Kiritich going to get chased down by Kasane, and he's just gone. Now, this is a lane that Ari and Kasane have played so many times, this Rubik Broodmother. They just know exactly how to run it. It's very hard to beat a team like this when they've... This is like their bread and butter in the offlane, it feels like.
Yeah, something they've found a lot of success on. They know how to maximize its early spikes. Bot lane, a lot more pressure coming out onto Gnosis once again.
FNG. Yeah, I mean, bottom lane there's action, but FNG top lane just being chased down by Kasane. He's going to buy a little bit of time. Kasane, he has more webs. He should be fine to chase this one down. And Ari will take it himself. Why the hell not? Easy.
Nice little kill coming out. A lot of pressure on Kiritich. The Troll is not going to feel amazing into this Battle Fury timing. Kiritich's lane is just so slow. I mean, just look at Tomato in comparison. Already pushing that bot tier 1, already forcing Notice and Sayo all the way back. They need some relief. FNG comes in.
Bottom lane, they're going to make the jump in on the Tomato. Tomato in pretty dire straits right now, just level 4. Trying to find a way out of this is actually proving to be quite tanky, but not tanky enough, surely. They will secure the kill in the end. It did take them quite a bit of time to make that happen, but they'll get it. It's a big one for VP.
It's the kill they needed to find. They need to find some way to pressure out Tomato and start to deal that magic damage in. Noticed hits level 5, has the Vanguard up, so he should be able to sustain through his own lane a lot better. Meanwhile, while that was happening, they couldn't get the response out with Ari. He goes mid, he shoves in with Bryle with that level 6 up.
In mid lane, Bryle. I mean, he's a tanky boy in the DK. It's not going to be that much of a simple kill to try and take him down. Bryle's still running. FNG going for the chase. Remnants forward from Squadix, but it doesn't seem like... Ooh, in fact, he can get the kill. Bryle does end up going down. December, understanding how far he can take his hero. Is FNG going to go for a run? He will be traded off, but it's still a great kill for VP. Good trade.
More than happy, again, finding these core kills for VP, getting some space for themselves out after the laning pressure coming out from TSM. Not going to get too much stolen away as well, with each side getting their own Wisdom Runes out, so no early EXP advantage for the supports. I think your issues still stand for VP though. You need a lot of space out for Kiritich. He's going to need to AFK farm for quite some time, and The one thing about that strategy up against Broodmother, eventually Kasane takes over top. You're gonna have to look for space elsewhere here for the troll, and this farming pace for Kiritich, it's just not there. You know, 2.8k net worth, still above Kasane, but the fact that you're at the bottom with the Broodmother is not good tidings here for the side of VP.
And 5-2 for now, 1k advantage the way of TSM. All the CS is just going TSM's way as well. They just had such a good laning stage. Still feels like TSM are well and truly in control as they start pushing in the mid-tier 1 tower now. Raw with that dragon form just slowly chipping away. It's kind of one of the things when you have a DK mid, you can just force so many rotations into the mid lane to defend, and it just opens up the side lanes. You see Kasane, he'll just take over that top side of the map. Tomato's getting complete free farm down at bottom. That's really the strength of this DK pick, I think. It's just the pressure you can apply and the rotations you can force. VP, they are going to try and head down towards the bottom lane and maybe try to do a Tomato. The thing is though, as soon as you show 2 or 3 heroes down at that bottom lane, your mid-tier 1 tower is just gone. Like, there's no protecting it if you show that many heroes. They are going to see Whitemon, but they'll miss the chains. It'll only land on the creep, so Whitemon's going to be just fine. In fact, he'll send the army after them. Look at this, the Wildering Ripper's just still chasing down Seiyu. There goes your mid-tier 1 tower. They'll go after Whitemon again. He's got the Hurricanes though. He'll push himself out of there, but they've got the onslaught. Noticed, we'll jump in. They'll clear out some creeps while they're at it. But this is all at the cost of your mid-tier 1 tower. So it's not really a good trade for VP.
No, certainly not. It's a lot of time wasted by the Pawn Survive, Whitemon getting that space out for his team. Like, the pressure is still coming out here for VP. Sure, you're trying to run down bot, you're not fighting Tomato. Kiritich is still trying to manage his Broodmother lane by himself. No relief from him, just hoping to find some farm. Bottom net worth very clearly now, way behind Sane. And Battle Fury is still a pipe dream at this point. Like, this timing that we're looking for from VP. You've got to see that pressure come out from Noticed and from Squadix. And they are certainly ramping up to that point. Maelstrom slowly coming out here for Squadix.
FNG will get caught. Ari is actually backing off, allowing the lasso onto Bryle. More help incoming. The Ember does get the chains off onto Bryle, though again he is quite tanky, but he's going to try for a TP play out, and he's going to be fine. Sane, he'll move in.
Jeez,
oh, look at that slide assist. My god, it's so slow. That's what I was saying earlier, John. If you slide a fist on the Spiderlings, you're just there forever.
Yeah, that's why I don't think the Ember is maybe the clear shot. It's weird, because at the same time, the slower sleight of fist attack interval means it's easier for you to watch where your character's at, so you can look for better steering chains, but it also means your follow-up in terms of trying to get more damage out is a lot slower. It's a little bit awkward. I think Ember players have to really adapt to that change. Going out for a smoke play, though.
Change. I just don't know if I like it. Here we go, Whitemon, he's going to break the smoke. He's got a Hurricane again, but eventually he should be dead. Trying to do some cheeky shenanigans with the Centaur. He'll pig out, but it's not going to be enough. He's gone. Thing is, again, this is a position 5 Chen. I don't think Whitemon minds dying. In fact, look at this, top lane. Kiritich is currently being watched by Kasane, and he's just constantly at this low HP pool. Trying to farm up that Battle Fury, but Kasane is just not leaving him alone. Mind you, he is feeding a few Spiderlings away to Kiritich, but he's just waiting for that right moment to pounce. And this troll, he has no choice but to back off. He can't stay at this top lane.
Just can't. They've got good forward wards here from TSM as well, watching by the Grave area. They're trying to shove in bot here from VP to open up some space, but they're not really finding Tomato. His map sense is perfect. He has good wards to defend. Whitemon's been caught in the short end of the stick in that jungle, and still free farming in the Terrorblade. Every single thing on the map right now is shaping up for TSM. VP off to a much slower start than you'd want this line to go through. They are starting to clump up top, though.
Yeah, they're going to try and defend. I mean, it's almost 12 minutes in, John. You don't want to lose the tier 2 tower this early. You're going to lose your whole die jungle if you do. Oh, the Batrider already caught, and the Onslaught. That's very aggressive. VP, they're going to TP in. They're going to try and force the fight anyway. Ryle dropping low will go down. A nice pickup for VP. And TSM, they will not go for the fight. I thought they would think about just forcing the fight by the tier 2 tower, but I've got to remember how early in the game it is, John. It's still 12 minutes.
Yeah, the funny thing is, you know, I've been playing so much Turbo, this is pretty much your average Turbo game right now. Like, you're at tier 2s at this point, so it's not too strange for me, but this is a normal game.
Yeah.
And TSM's playing it like it's Turbo. Granted, they don't have the biggest net worth lead, 3k above, mainly down to how behind Kiritich is. So, all things considered, outside of that troll, VP does have play. Now, we're reaching those initial timings for Squadix. It's starting to chase down Kasane a bit, but pinning down the Broodmother is a taller order.
It's so funny though, like you see him using the Sleight of Fist and he tries to actively avoid the Spiderlings now. They are jumping Kasane as we speak. Kasane might be forced to fight this one out, but no, he just walks down to the low ground. Tomato rotates anyway on the TB just in case he needed it. And eventually, they'll just back off as Seiyu may get caught. The chase is on from Whitemon. Seiyu, while he is on a horse and he is fast, eventually they might just have their way with him. Though he is still running. No TP available on Seiyu, so it's going to be a very slow run back towards the fountain.
Foreman.
He's going, John, but the Foreman's after him. Never mind, Seiyu's fine. They'll jump back in with the chains, make sure he does remain protected, and it does turn out that Coddle is fast enough to just outrun them.
Yeah, he is. Barely fast enough to bail out. Yes, I'm not going to find that freebie they'd want. But again, they're buying space for Tomato. He just heads back bot. Keeps this farm up in the Terrorblade. He needs a lot more to be active. But he is reaching that point where you'll have the full Manta up and start to consider probably Scotty, maybe a Butterfly this game, but not too much threat for an early MKB. That Sleight of Fist is just so funny.
It's so funny to watch, honestly.
It's so sad.
Do it again.
Again, it's weird because it helps you somewhat with Searing Chains, but good God, like Ember does not look like a Spirit Brother. He's just slow.
Just press Sleight of Fist and AFK. Just have a coffee. You'll be right. Well, what is... See, these kind of changes I don't like. Like, if I'm not an Ember player, so I don't really care that much, John. But if I was an Ember player, I'd be so mad with this game. Because it's...
I mean, we've seen Squadix miss chains because of that. Right? Like, he goes on to Whitemon, he chains up the creeps because he expects his attack to already be on the Chen. But it's not. The tempo is so weird.
I remember that when they changed Earth Spirit's Boulder Smash, so it goes slower, like the projectile speed of the rock, and I was so mad. It just ruined everything. VP, they're looking to jump in. Kasane literally not flinching to the Sleight of Fist, but now may need to force a fight as the lasso is there, but no, never mind. Whitemon, he's around, and the lasso was stolen by Ari. It won't really make the big difference, but it won't matter either, because FNG is still just trying to get out of there, because Kasane was not done. They won't find a kill on either side. Onslaught is out. Tomato going to be targeted here by Notice. They do have the Pulverize available, but he never commits it. In fact, the Sunder comes out. Notice is now the one in danger. He's going to drop. Not a good fight for VP. They are still trying. Even Ari won't go down to the Ember. Like, this, the damage isn't there.
Not quite enough. The one thing now for VP is that they're forcing so much attention that Kiritich does have reasonable space down bot. As the battle fears, so is farming up, but Roshan is being taken now by TSM and VP. We've got to find a response here. No Primal Beast for 9 seconds. Don't want to buy back so close, but Roche falls so fast.
Oh, they're getting there. They're almost there in time. They'll scout him out. They'll break the smoke. Roshan's still dropping FNG. He's going to try and run in, but the Aegis is picked up by Tomato as this is the Sleight of Fist in slow motion. A big onslaught from Notice, but he's in the middle of everyone. Everyone just ignoring him completely as they are trying to chase down Kasane, but there's just so many ways of keeping him alive. He's just not dying. Whitemon wasn't even around to save him that time. Kasane's just too tanky with the pipe.
Just too durable. And, you know, the old orb build on the Brood still works fine. You still do a ton of damage out for the Insatiable. You've got a great way to just sustain your team. But that was a really sick Dragon Tail coming out as well from Brawl, right as FNG came up. So instantly stunned as he tried to approach Roach, and just gets melted away. And the one big positive for VP is this is space for your win condition on Kiritich. And the Troll is trying to build into BKB, but quite frankly, I don't know if the Troll's worth the investment here, Mike. It's just such a weird hero. It's so dead.
Yeah, I was surprised they didn't change this to a universal hero, I'll be frank, John. Tomato. Oh, Lasso's going to be there. This will be a big one if they can get it. Keep in mind, Tomato does have Aegis. So they've got the Aegis down. Ari's unable to reach to get any kind of telekinesis off. So it seems like Tomato just going to lose the Aegis. I don't know how much he cares, to be quite frank with you, John, because I don't think he's at a point yet where he really wants to man up 5v5 with his team. I think he's more than happy to farm for next Roshan. It's top lane. Say you. Just gonna get dived here by the army of Kasane and Whitemon, and man, the sleight of fist, it kills me every time. Look how long it's taking.
Look how...
Overrise, they've got Whitemon at least, but Kasane's gonna move back now in with Brawl as they found the Primal Beast. Noticed, gonna TP out, should be okay to do so, and he will make it.
Man, it's so weird. I don't know. It's a weird change for Ember. It's so weird. Like, out of all things, the sleight of fist attack.
Okay, but we've only got so much time here, you know? I'm sitting there looking at my watch, just waiting for the sleight of fist to end.
They find a nice freebie, but the tier 2, under full pressure with Tomato Run, has the Manta for protection now as well.
Oh, here we go, jump in. Onslaught going to connect on one. They've actually found Tomato with that, but he's got the Sunder, and we'll find Kiritich with it. Kiritich forced to back his way out immediately. It's TSM, they are more than happy to try and force this fight. Ryle, though, taking a fair bit of damage on his way out, but is going to be okay. Escape for now, though. FNG jumped in again. We'll go down immediately, though. Getting caught on the Bat Rider. Ryle, in the meantime, trying to find another stun, but he will run out of Dragon Form. They won't be able to range get there, really, with TSM. They're trying to go for the high ground. They'll try for a T3 tower. Virtus.pro. They do have the Caudal Ember, so it's kind of... It's a nice high ground defense they have with all this this damage from the Illuminate and the Sleight of Fist. With the Chakra Magic, it will force TSM back. Without the Dragon Form, they just can't get it done.
Yeah. It's a little bit awkward for VP to even play their single target control. We haven't seen Notice use Pulverize at all. He knows Ari's just looking to steal it. And, you know, we've seen Rubik stealing Pulverize. That's perfect balance in the game. Just that extra reach. Such a tiny person flinging something as big as a Crown Beast is always a joy to see.
Just look at Kasane now. He's just doing their heads in right now. They'll chain him up finally. FNG's got Lasso. They should have him. He pops the pipe though. Where's the damage? Now with the Solar Vine, they'll have it. Kasane will finally go down. But he's been up there for 20 minutes, John. He did not die once up until this stage. He's just been terrorizing them for the 20 minutes straight on this Broodmother.
And he's done his job. The tier 2 already gone. Constant pressure onto the tier 3. Just naturally come in.
Whitemon's just going to try and solo the offlane of the enemy team. He's not going to have the damage, to say the least. Notice will jump in for the creeps. Thank you very much. Whitemon will sacrifice his army for nothing.
He sends a message. You know, he doesn't need the army. And that's the Whitemon we know, Mike. That's what he does.
What kind of war tactic is that? Send my troops in, let them die. Send a message.
Send a message. I don't need these troops. There are always more troops, according to Whitemon. It's a sacrifice he's willing to make, Mike.
That's fair. There is indeed always more troops when it comes to Dota 2, that's for sure. Tormentor, gonna be started by TSM. The Whitemon and then Tomato will take care of that one for their team. Meanwhile, mid lane looks like Notice was being chased a little bit, but he's gonna be okay. So Whitemon now gets a free shards up, so you've got the whole, you can take Ancients with the Holy Persuasion now. And of course you can heal people up by sacrificing those,
Not yet. I mean, he'll need the Ags for that.
Oh,
Mike,
the Ags, right.
That's the
It's
fun
been a long
one.
time since I've played
That we'll
Crypto.
never see.
Yeah.
I mean, it was, like last year TI regional qualifiers, Astra Ares, a certain player named Ponlo, built the Yags, sold the Yags, got a Desolator, ended the game.
Yeah.
Wouldn't want that kind of gameplay for TSM, of course, but I suppose Whitemon's the kind of player who could get that done.
Don't buy Chen Deso, ladies and gentlemen. You know? Look what happened to Ponlo. He's back in SCA
They won
now
that
for a
game, at
reason.
least.
He's back in SCA, John.
Radiant's top tower is under attack.
Shout out to Ponlo. We miss you, buddy.
What a funny kid. I call him kid, but he's not that young. Just looks at Mike.
He's like
Yeah,
35
he
or
never
something.
corrects anyone. He never corrects anyone, though. Loves acting up the kid. They're acting up in those tier 2s now. TSM clearing that out. Only the bot lane left here for VP to play with. Mind you, again, VP has done a great job of stalling. Full BKB up in Kiritich. Going for the Basher next. No clear answer from TSM, no halberd buildup, so it's going to be a bit hard to manage that troll.
This is not a good smoke. I don't think VP can force a fight. They're thinking about it. Or maybe now they can. Tomato has left the building. Tomato shows top lane, so now they know they can try to fight. They got a lasso off onto Kasane. A lot of control so far onto the Broodmother and Kasane. He's going to go down. Like they'll even find another. Ari getting caught on the Rubik. Will be the second to drop. Bit of a... I don't want to say error by Tomato, John, but just showing on the creep wave top lane like that, he kind of just sacrificed his team.
Maybe they expected to retreat a little bit faster on TSM. They do get caught off. The smoke does pay off. Or the side of VP. And now they can start to apply some pressure onto mid. Notice, really durable. Has the full heart up on that Primal Beast with a Blade Mail. Not an easy target to kind of pin down any longer. And again, with how much space Kurtic has gotten, I'm just surprised there's nothing like a simple halberd coming out. Maybe Kasane could try to fit it in. He's trying to work onto the Hex. With the BKB up on Kurtic, he's not going to care about that too much.
Bottom. The Dragon Knight, Ryle, has the BKB available, does pop it in time. The onslaught will be cancelled by the Dragon Tail as now Ari moves in. Will take the onslaught for himself on the Rubik, and that's actually one of the better abilities he can take. Like that Rubik onslaught, it is really, really terrifying to have to play against. Especially when you've got a good Rubik player like Ari. That could be game-changing in the next fight. But VP, they're going to start on the tier 2 bottom tower. They want to get going right here, right now.
VP's managed this game really well. Kurtic is number 2 in that fort after being bottom for most of the game. Going for the MKB. And have a way of not caring about the Silken Bola, not caring about a potential butterfly pickup from Tomato. And they're taking forward control. Great forward wards down bot to spot out any forward farming here inside of TSM. TSM focusing all their wards across the river, where VP isn't really playing anymore. They've lost control of that area since losing those tier 2, so they're not even bothering. I think for TSM, and they did go with a slower build-up, you know, Brawl going for the Midas into the Blink BKB, wanting to scale up more in that DK. We just need a halberd somewhere. You know, once you get the halberd for the troll, that's where the hero really falls flat on its face. But with no solution in sight, I mean, Kurtic is just free to do what he wants.
I just question whether the troll's going to pay off. That's kind of my thing. Like, yeah, he's got the freest farm of his life right now. But is Troll Warlord good enough to actually carry him against the TB? You know, I realize it's not just about the 1v1 matchup, but it's still Terrorblade, you know?
I think the issue for TSM is you haven't gotten anything to make this game harder for Kurtic.
Right.
Like, no disarms, no hard control, BKB ready. The troll doesn't care too much now.
There we go, top lane. Lasso already out on Brawl, but he got the BKB off in time. Noticed, still going to pick him up, but no. It is taken now by Ari. He's got the Pulverize available. They're still moving forward, VP, but Tomato is going to show his face on the Terrorblade. With that Metamorphosis, it's going to be a lot of damage. It's VP, they are trying to retreat, but never mind. They want to go back in. They've got the Onslaught up again. Ari still alive somehow, but eventually will die as it's complete chaos at the top lane. Ari is brought back, but Brawl is gone. They've lost the Dragon Knight. TSM still trying to escape this situation, but VP are not letting up. They'll just keep going for more. Wymont's gone. Even more they want. Tomato's trying to get out of this one, but Notice has got the Pulverize once again, picking him up. Tomato still running, gets the Sunder off, but where's the damage? Where's the follow-up? It's not there. Tomato's down. They've even got another. Ari, he'll get the Pulverize on Notice, but it's not gonna matter because he's chained up and he's down. That's gonna be a dieback for Ari. VP, what a fight coming out from the Dire Boys. They made it look easy.
It's just down to the fact that TSM, the way they start these fights is not really straightforward. Like right now, they're just running up, trying to hope that the control isn't enough for one. They lack damage right now on TSM. Your output coming out on Tomato isn't quite high enough. No self-steroid, nothing like the butterfly for bigger hits. So it's really just trying to find some space for himself, and he is going into the Satanic to sustain through these slower fights to try to eat through that blade mail that Notice has, but isn't quite there. Whereas for VP, once they jump in with a lasso, even if it doesn't land for too long or catches a tanky hero, that's more than enough space to cause havoc in these fights. Kurtic just comes in, BKBs, uses the ult. Nothing to kite him around this game once the BKB is active. Like, there's just no clear solution to that troll. No clear solution for any of these single target controls. Like, FNG is just free to come in, blink, lasso, and there's no real saves on TSM. Just nothing to stop that. So VP are able to be in the driver's seat. They take control of the game with the Aegis up. She's up and running in Squadix. And for TSM, they're playing on the back foot. Now, your Chen, White Mod, he had a fantastic start, but Chen, it doesn't scale linearly. You start to drop off in your utility here for the Chen.
Yeah.
Whereas for VP, it's a Bat Rider, it's a Kotl. You have straightforward combinations here. You've always got a good stun coming out from FNG. And Kiritich is just ready to take control. Like, we talked about this in draft as well, but what's there to keep down Squadix? On top of trying to kite around the troll, how do you pin down the Ember? You just don't have enough.
Mid lane, Tomato, Squadix gonna find each other. They're gonna find the Arcane Rune here for the Ember.
Radiant's top tower is under
Top lane, T3 tower now under siege. VP looking to really press the advantage, and a Troll Warlord, one thing he's really good at is pushing these towers. It's a lot of damage that ramps up very quickly with the Fever. The Fever. I don't know how you pronounce that word, Jonathan, but it's, you know, you get my point, the attack speed. Fervor, is that it?
Yes.
Lasso is out there. Oh, they've got Tomato. They've got the TB. Ooh. Tomato, he'll barely escape. Did he just mantra off the pulverize? Is that what happened?
I think he got Force Staffed. Force Staff came and disrupted.
VP? They're not backing off. They want to keep going. They're still basically full HP. They've made the jump in on the Ember, but Squadix is just fine. TSM just trying desperately to hold on to this high ground. See, they've already lost the T3 tower. And it seems like that's going to be enough for VP. They won't see the opening. They'll leave him be for now. Maybe try to find a pick-off. And TSM, they are showing in the mid lane at the moment. It's going to be the opportunities. They do scan out successfully. So they know TSM is around this area in the mid lane. Oh, top lane Tomato, he's by himself. Oh, say you, he's baiting perfectly. Tomato, you've got to run. VP, they'll go for the chase. Noticed, he gets a trample off. Tomato has no help. They're trying to get there in time. Where's the pulverize? It never came out. There it is. They've got the Dragon Knight now, but this might be a bad team fight for VP if they're not too careful, because they've already taken so much damage. Kiritich taking way too much here. Flamon just controlling him up, but he's somehow still alive. And eventually, once the battle trance wears off, he will lose his first life. So they will jump Brile. They'll try for the Dragon Knight. They've got him down, but he's got buyback available if he wants to. Zwymon will drop. There's the buyback from Brile, but it's pretty late. They've already lost both supports. They are still trying to fight with Tomato. Squadix is the target, but he'll get the cheese off in time. Tomato still trying his absolute best to man up here against FNG, but it's not enough. He is down. Brile is brought back and died back, and that's GG. The game is over. VP, I'll tell you, John, laning stage-wise, they look pretty rough, but past that 20-minute mark, they made the draft work. Fantastic work from Virtus.pro.
TSM just maybe resting on their laurels a little bit too much there. You know, that movement out from Tomato in the bot area when they pulled back after that smoke from VP, that's where it kind of started tumbling down. But even then, before that, like, the fact that they managed to give space out for Kiritich, the fact that they didn't pressure that Troll Warlord once he left the top lane was really the key issue. Like, you have to keep that troll down. And when it came down to the draft, sure, you were having a great start, but there were always issues in trying to control out the Ember. Squadix is just way too mobile, and if you're trying to control the Ember, you've got nothing left to kite around the troll. No, it just doesn't line up for the tempo that you were looking for from TSM. Despite the really early starts onto those tier 2s, they just let go of that tempo.
Yeah, that they certainly did, and I thought TSM with their own draft would just be able to go into the late game, just be better than VP with their own draft, but I was completely wrong here, John. VP, they get to this 30-minute mark, and they just seem so potent suddenly. But it does really go off the back of the Primal Beast, I think, because like you kind of pointed out the Heart Blade Mail build-up on this Primal, and it just felt like there was so much attention being placed onto trying to deal with this Primal Beast throughout the team fights. Just the amount of times that Notice would casually walk out and just reset with the Heart. Just in that scenario there, for example, Zari just unable to finish the job off. I feel like I want to just give mad props to the Primal, John, because there's a lot of work being done here from Noticed, and just TSM could not deal with him.
Yeah, and like he identified the right build. He knew that something like the Blade Mail Heart would just instantly stop Kasane from jumping him and trying to sustain true the insatiable hunger. And from that point onward, you know, the Brood Motor just stops being an issue. It can't really jump to the back line when the Primal Beast is just waiting there on standby. And again, with all these high mobility heroes, with the Primal Beast, Ember, and the Troll, like, there was just not enough to kite here. Kasane fell off a cliff in terms of his build-up. At the end of the game, bottom net worth on the Brood. Never managed to finish up that Hex, never managed to get that additional control, only had the Aura play. And that's simply not enough. With the output coming out from VP, again, very good discipline from VP. Great space coming out here for Kiritic. And just all the tools lining up. They make the Troll work. Mainly because TSM had no counters in the end. Like, just without that Hex, or even in Halberd. Like, when it came down to it, you had Brawl go for a Midas, then blink BKB into a Manta for your DK, not something like the Halberd. So it just meant, again, a very free time for you to run in and battle trance as a Troll here.
It certainly did. Props to VP. You know, I didn't believe in their draft whatsoever, especially that last big Troll, but they made it look really damn good, so props to them. Of course, with that, John, that is game 1. That's it. It's done. Game 2 coming up very, very soon after a short break, of course, and we'll see if the side of TSM can try to maybe draw this one out. Obviously, they aren't really playing for much in the sense of being able to directly qualify. I don't think to the playoffs, but still, you know, important to get some wins, get some practice on the board, and you know, deciders later on. So we'll see how it all pans out. We're gonna head off to a short break, and right after that break, we'll be back with game 2 between VP and of course TSM. We'll see you then.
Progress is a race that has no end. After every finish line, another challenge awaits. How can we continue to push innovation in a sport at the forefront of technology? This is how. Discover how Aramco and the Aston Martin Formula One team aim to meet Formula One's sustainable fuel targets. Aramco, powered by How.
الحياة لحن، ولأننا جزء من مقطوعة عظيمة تحركنا، تلمسنا، تصنع من لحظاتنا ذكريات بديعة. لأن الوجبة، التجربة، المغامرة يعطيك بعد جديد في هيلتون الرياض.
All new Honor Magic 5 Pro. Freeze even fleeting emotions in just milliseconds. Take marvelous night shots with lightning-fast exposure. The display reveals more details in bright areas with an astonishingly long battery life that just keeps going. The latest flagship chipset brings you exceptional performance. Unleash the power of magic. Honor Magic 5 Pro.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back. We are going into our second game of this best of two series between VP and, of course, TSM. And it's MLP Dota and John X5. Jonathan, how the hell are you feeling, sir?
Doing great. That game one was a little bit of a roller coaster ride there for TSM, having a really strong start, just failing to really stop the timings of VP coming true, facing issues with the drafts and trying to control out Squadix and trying to stop Kiritich from farming up, and eventually the Troll does win a game. You give it enough space, you ensure that it's not kited around, no hard control coming out, not enough hard control coming out there from TSM, and Kiritich is just free to actually use Battle Trance and not die. What an amazing hero when he's not kited.
As much as I want to say that the Troll Warlord pick worked out, I feel like I feel like Kiritich didn't really do much that game, honestly. He just kind of, oh, come on now, Jonathan, he showed up at the last second, he hit a few people, but I still think a lot of the work was from Noticed on the Primal Beast, just creating so much havoc. And when you've got that much chaos going on, and your Ember can do his Matrix Sleight of Fist twice in a row because you've got Chakra Magic, the damage adds up, Jonathan. It adds up.
Yeah, it does.
I can't give favor to the troll yet, Jonathan. You know how I am. I'm very stubborn. I've got to see him carrying a game 1v9 before the troll's good enough for me.
I see. Fair enough. I suppose that's one metric to measure your own success by, Mike. And that, I don't know if that's a fair metric, but it's a metric nonetheless.
It's a metric.
I think still, the fact that, I don't know, okay, maybe you could argue any other core hero would have probably done the job in that kind of game. I think the issue for TSM still stands in control. Just not being able to stop Notice, not being able to stop Squadix. It's pretty big, which means Kiritich can just play a trash hero and be on top. That's very concerning for TSM after a strong start. So we'll have to see if they can shape things up, because I'm not sure if VP will just pick the troll once more. Again, Kiritich probably didn't need to do too much at all. He was the main building hitter. Beyond that, he maybe copped a few spells and just stood forward, acted as another piece of bait with his Battle Trance and BKB, and no solutions came out. Still, we're into the Game 2 draft on hand here for VP up against TSM. See if anything changes in the bans. VP could be considering that Broodmother ban from Kasane. It'd slow down the game quite a fair bit, considering that slower start up top there.
They may just do it. I mean, the thing is, Kasane does play so many micro heroes, right? Like you see the Lycan, the Beastmasters come out for the man, so... Well, you are correct, though. They do respect ban out the Broodmother. They don't want to have to deal with that again, and I can't quite blame them. VP, they might have been able to finish that game way earlier if the safe lane didn't go so badly for themselves against that Brood Ruby. I guess that was the impressive part about VP that game as well, because both side lanes were really bad. Like the off lane of VP did not work out the way they intended either, as they do go for the Timbersaw pickup here for VP, so... See, Timber's still proving to be a very, very strong pickup for any team. TSM, on the other hand, they're going to go IO into Eleshrak. Surprise, surprise. The NA special opening duo of the IO Eleshes here.
Yep. It's coming out. That's the combination you want to dip into. Should lead to some good pacing coming up from TSM. Fairly straightforward for Brawl to run that mid. I'm wondering if they were expecting the Timbersaw to go mid here for Squadix. That is something that can pop out. We've seen a lot of Timbersaw mids, and I do believe for Squadix that's mainly him playing that hero on the mid. We shall see. TA immediate response out from VP, so looking for their own tempo. They've got a good hero to melt through the IO in the back line. Once you can find that target, just a couple of meld strikes coming in, and the IO can't really do too much. So maybe a little bit awkward in that you have some consistent burn damage to take care of the refraction, but again, if the TA is just looking to pick off these squishier supports, you're still going to have a great time here. I'm wondering how hard the flex goes for VP, because there's maybe a little bit of an argument for TA mid and the Timbersaw offlane, so Squadix can just take TA instead. Notice can go on the tanky Timbersaw. I don't think that lane goes any better for the TA, but it could be one route to go if you really dislike the Timbersaw versus Lush lane.
It certainly could be. I'll wait out some more bans before we can see some more picks. Both sides are going relatively quickly, which is very, very good to see. I do wonder how much VP are concerned about this IO Leshrak. Like it does feel like every time you see this combo, when it is in meta, it is very, very potent. They'll get rid of the Bloodseeker as well. VP is focusing on all the position 1 pickups here that TSM could think about for Tomato, as they do ban out the Ember as well. TSM right into the Batrider. So not allowing FNG that hero a second game. Hand that over to Ari this time around, and this is another kind of specialty of Ari. When I think of Ari, I think of heroes like Rubik and Batrider.
Yeah, that's mainly what we've seen him have a lot of success with in their time in DPC. So, keen to see that coming out. Your support hero of IO Bat, though.
Yeah.
It's lacking control for sure. Like, you can maybe flex this for Kasane, but for the most part, it has been Ari. Although, to be fair, if you are expecting TA safe into Batrider lane, it can feel pretty good for Kasane. And you could more than likely lane with Ari on the IO. So you could run a Batrider IO lane quite fine, get lots of value from your IO early on, especially with the overcharge and tether. with the magic damage coming out from your bat. Wouldn't mind that. I think that sounds like a better way to run this rather than a Bat Rider Io support duo. It just sounds like it lacks as much control as they lacked in the last game with the Chen. Like, there just wasn't enough coming out to dictate these fights. VP back taking the Rubik away, so a little bit of a hero swap here. Don't mind that too much. We've seen F&G style on the Rubik before. So, lots of good spells to steal here from the Lesh, from the Bat Rider. Can feel pretty damn good. And it just feels a lot more straightforward for VP to play this draft right now. Sure, you have Io Leshrac on TSM. It's really just the lanes I'm worried about. With Io and Bat Riders, your support, or potentially your support duo, it's just not comfy.
It certainly isn't. And the Rubik pick for FNG, like, against the Bat Rider, it's always going to feel really nice. You're just waiting for that lasso every time, and it's not too hard to steal a spell like lasso. It's pretty projected, to say the least. VP. 1 minute reserve time left. Could just go for a position 5 pickup. Or a position 4, depending on where they want their Rubik. I'll have a bit of a think about it. These games, again, the importance of these games is questionable at this point because chances are both these teams are probably going to have to just go through to the deciders. But again, yeah. I think getting the day off to a good start, like just finding a 2-way victory here, for example, for VP, it just gives you that momentum, I'd argue, as now Void comes out from Virtus.pro. So I tell you, this is one of the teams that it feels like they're running some very experimental stuff in the safe lane.
I don't think the Void is too experimental. Feels like that hero has always kind of popped in and out, right?
I'm not saying it's... I mean, I guess it's not. I'm saying it's entertaining, John. It's a nice pick to watch.
There you go. Okay. Not quite the same as experimental, Mike.
Oh.
You know, something experimental on safe lane would be like an AA super carry.
Yes.
That would be a very great experiment. Dark Willow safe lane, Snapfire safe lane, those are all very experimental. Faceless Void, more run-of-the-mill, but entertaining. I would agree upon that word, Mike. Very entertaining hero. And that does mean that you're more than likely running a Void safe lane, which leaves, well, TA mid for sure. You are going to run the TA into the Leshrac lane, the Timbersaw down bot against whatever Tomato wants to bring out. You don't have the best control for the Faceless Void here either. Mind you, this is almost the same kind of game for Kiritich where you're looking to farm up, more than likely aiming for your Maelstrom timing here for the Faceless Void, just kind of farming up in the jungle. I'm wondering how TSM does manage that. They go with Lycan, which was left for Kasane, so he does get his other Zoo hero coming out. And that is a very solid lane coming out. Just
that's a scary boy, John.
I mean, Lycan IO is so much regen. You can't stop that. Once he has Feral Impulse up, like level 2 with Tether up, you don't stop Lycan. Gets the Howl off, runs you down, has bonus damage, bonus attack speed. It gets pretty scary to lane in. Granted, killing off a Faceless Void is hard, but you could probably pick off this Rubik if he's not careful with positioning here.
No, I love Kasane Lycan as well. You know, it's one of those heroes that I appreciate his Broodmother, but Lycan, it just tickles me in a different spot, Jonathan. You know, I love myself a good Lycan player, and well, this gets me a little bit excited to watch. Though I do wonder exactly how he does perform. You know, the one thing I like about Lycan a lot, and I hope we get to see it, is the classic wolf bite. You know, I'd love the game to get to a stage where we have the wolf bite up. I hope TSM's playing for it. You know, just pick a position one that wants that wolf bite.
Yeah. I mean, I love me a good Morb, Mike. You know me, I'm a Morb enthusiast. I would love some Morbing here.
If they chose Morphling, that would be like the ultimate Morb, right?
Yeah, but the Morphling's dead in the water, Mike. No, I don't know why you're suggesting that. Well, literally dead in the water he was made of.
A very good pun, Jonathan. You know what I'm saying, though? I mean, it's all about Morbius, Jonathan.
That's true.
But sure, he's dead. But if he morbs...
But wouldn't Nightstalker be the ultimate Morber as a Morbius character himself?
Theoretically, but then it feels like Twilight after that. We always go over this. It feels like Twilight. Is it really Morbius if it's, you know, wolves versus vampires?
All roads lead back to Morbius, Mike. Including
That's
Twilight.
Fair. That's fair.
The Lich coming out for VP. Nothing too exciting. But that does make for a very stable lane now for Kiritich. Like, it's a Lich Faceless Void, Frost Armor, Leap Forward. Frost Blast is pretty fun to play with. You can force the clump up from TSM. Like, Having Chain Frost up against an IO is always nice, because you see that tether target, you're like, alright, it's gonna bounce. There's no way you miss a bounce there. So you're always gonna get some value out from your Lich in team fights, and you just have a really stable lineup from VP. Very good tempo coming out from a TA with potentially early push, depending on the build here for Squadix. You've got the front line once more for Notice on the Timbersaw. For TSM, it's a shift out, right? And again, they open with IO Lesh, they've got the Batrider to support. What Timato here is really left for them, though, like, they're losing out on all the big cores. It's almost like they're being baited into picking the Terrorblade once more, as that was left in the pool. Laning into the Timbersaws, not the worst, also not the best, but you can kind of manage. Timato's played that matchup multiple times before. It just doesn't feel comfy. As a Terrorblade interfaces Void, like, the matchup, as it scales towards late game, it doesn't lean towards the Terrorblade's way.
20 seconds left. Yes, I'm still having to think about it. The position 1 is what's lacking right now. Something to deal with the Void TA. 5 seconds. TSM are really going all the way with this one. Oh, here we go. They're going down the Luna route.
Okay.
This, I don't know how I feel about this. I realize it's IO Luna. And I think, if I remember correctly, there was a series that did have this IO Luna that I believe went well for whatever team it was. I really can't remember exactly which series, because again, we had like 24 series yesterday. I still don't believe in this hero, John. I'm going to say it right here and now. I don't believe in the Luna.
Well, I guess that sends a signal to chat. TSM is going to be winning this one, guys. Mike doesn't believe in the Luna. He didn't believe in the Troll. And TSM's going to turn it around. Look, the Luna is a really good tempo core for the side of TSM with this kind of draft, right? With a Lycan, you have a lot of push coming out. You've got a reasonable argument for the Ags build up here on Luna, considering you have overcharge for Spell Amp, so you can just try to burn them down. And your tempo on the Luna here is much faster than Faces Void. So you are going to be online a lot quicker. You're going to be grouping up with your team, looking for these team fights a lot faster. Whereas for Virtus.pro, arguably it's a pretty greedy draft. You're running a TA mid for Squadix up against a Lesh. You know, that matchup is not any easier in comparison to having to run the Timbersaw mid against Lesh. It's just not straightforward for either one of those options for VP. And TA, I don't expect it to have the best of times up against Bryle, unless Bryle somehow cops like double meld very early on and just cops way too much right click harass. You should expect the Lesh to have that impact. And I think for TSM, what we have to see is sustained aggression. Now, last time around, they had really good early aggression. Then they sat back. They gave openings to VP. They cannot afford to do that here. They have to crush this early, probably take some tier 2s by 15 minutes, and choke out one part of the map so that VP don't get to play the stall game. Because now they have to stall for Kiritich and for Squadix. And those two heroes just... The TA may be less so in terms of needing farm, but it does still need an injection to really feel impactful here.
Something about you in describing buffs, like you always say steroid and injection. Something you want to tell us, Jonathan? Something you want to... My goodness.
You know, it's just... Yeah, you play a lot of old games, you know, and stuff like StarCraft. Yeah, the stim packs for your Marines, stuff like that, you know.
I was going to say, you've been looking a little bit more buff recently, John. That's what I'm talking about. My goodness.
Well, you know, I do play a certain game, Mike, on my Nintendo Switch. It's been fun.
What's that, Jonathan? I don't know what you're talking about.
Ring Fit Adventure, Mike.
God.
It's a fun game.
How embarrassing.
Hey, I'm moving around, Mike. You know, I'm old. I need to move my body around. It's more fun than just doing body weights. You know, it's entertaining.
Is it on Steam, Jonathan?
No, it's on. I just said it's on the Switch. It says Nintendo Ring Fit Adventure.
Why are we talking about it, John? If I can't buy it during the summer sale, I don't want it. Simple
summer sale's over, old man. It's done.
Is it though, Jonathan? Is it?
It is. Verifiably so. Ask Valve themselves. Is the summer sale still going? No, sir. It ended on July 13. What's wrong with you?
It's always a summer sale on Steam, John. It's always a summer sale on Steam, right? TI's in a couple months, Jonathan. You shut your damn mouth, right? Everyone go on Steam, buy a game right now. You're welcome, Gaben. I'll expect
my Halloween sale.
Well, there you go, Jonathan. Another sale. This is why I hang out on Steam a lot, Jonathan. I'd never go to the... Can you even call them competitors? What is that company?
I don't think there are any competitors, to be fair with you, Mike.
No,
there's a lot of things people hate.
Yeah, copycats. FNG, bottom lane, popping a fair bit of harassment here from Ari and Kasane. You're just fine. It's going to be an interesting bot lane. Like, we talked about it last game around, but this Void Lich does seem like it's going to be quite potent. The amount of damage you can kind of pump out here against Kasane. Mind you, obviously, Kasane, once he has a couple points in the Feral Impulse, he should be just fine to sustain himself. What are you thinking about this bot lane?
It should be fairly stable. Like, I don't see a major kill threat coming out unless someone severely missteps up against Ahri. You shouldn't be zoned out here as well on Kasane. Once he has some value points in the Feral Impulse. Should be self-sustaining. Maybe a little bit more challenging for Kyrtych and having to watch around for the Batrider, but you've always got Time Walk. So this boils down to farm. Kasane's timings are going to be a lot better in an equal farming game, though. Dominator timing into Overlord. Lycan starts to really get into gear at that point. So overall, this will favor TSM if it does just stay slow and steady. Your Lycan will just have its power spikes earlier by nature of the hero.
Absolutely. We'll see how it does pan out. Of course, mid lane, you're going to see Brawl against Squad X here in the TA versus Leshrac matchup. Now, it seems to be favoring Brawl just a bit, and of course, once you do have some points in the Diabolic Edict and Pulse Nova, you do have a much easier time against the TA. But now the Brawl having a pretty damn good time anyway. It doesn't really seem to be threatened whatsoever by this Templar Assassin.
Yeah. As long as you're not popping too many side blades, it's pretty manageable for the Lesh. You've got good burn damage. And TA early refraction levels fairly easy to deal with, so you can kind of rely on the creeps being pulled back, getting a few hits off, feeling free. Would want some movement out by the 6-minute mark, just to ensure no power runes come out for Brawl. More pertinent for Brawl to find something good like a haste or a regen to start really kicking things into gear. And that's where we've got to see VP kind of move around at that point. Still taking a look up top, Tomato and Whitemon on that good old Io Luna that you don't see too often. Already having a pretty stable time coming out here for Tomato, but not too bad as well for Notice. And this is a very good sustain lane for Notice. Luna as a range core doesn't have the best range. Fairly easy for Notice to walk up and whirling death away. They're not going to be under too much pressure. He hits that early timing with, say, a Soul Ring, maybe a little bit more stat resist on hand, a little bit more HP. He's not going to be under too much threat. As long as Tomato farms stably, though, depending on his build, he can go for a lot of aggression with Lucent Beam or just farm with the Glaives. Right now, it is a 1-0-1. Looking for some laning pressure at the very least.
Yeah, I think he will just go down the farm round on the Luna anyway. Like, you've got Io Luna. You just want to... You want to get past this laning stage and just go hit creeps in the jungle. That's all he wants to do. You know, no need to go down the fighting build, I don't think, but we'll see what he does exactly. Still, 0-0, no first blood being drawn quite yet. The lanes seem to be slightly favoring TSM, but they do look fairly even anyway. It's only by a couple CS. Nothing to write home about. A bit of a slower start here for either side. Something tells me we may not see a kill anytime soon either. All the lanes do look rather passive. Generally, as I say that, we usually see a kill coming out, but not this time, sadly. Nobody's going for a fight.
No. I think the big issue right now is for VP, in that Kyrtych, it's a Faceless Void. You're never going to outfarm the Luna early on. You're going to need items to help you catch up. The Kyrtych's solution is the Mask of Madness into the Maelstrom, which means, again, it's going to be a little bit slower for him.
Here we go. There's the Caster's Curse I was looking for. Kasane's in trouble. Oh, never mind. Kasane's fine. Kyrtych does back his way out as Ahri does reveal himself, so I've cursed myself this time. Very unfortunate. Top lane, Notice, dropping a little bit low, but does have the level 2 reactive armor, so he's going to be just fine to reset.
I'm really enjoying the Michael Phoenix curse across every single thing we point out. Haven't had you curse yourself before. That's a first. Always nice to see.
Oh, trust me, Jonathan, I'm cursed. You know I'm cursed.
Oh, well, I know that. Clearly, I've been with you for 7 years now, Mike. It's
I apologize.
It's an infallible fact. You are cursed. It is what it is, Mike. 5 minutes in, no first blood, no action, just farming up, which you would expect with these lanes, to be fair. And I would expect action by the 6-minute mark just for runes. You do not want Brawl getting a regen or haste, but beyond that, it's a farm fiesta. So just get what you need and get that building up. Any stacks? A few stacks being made here by Sayu, which is great. Into the triangle, just a couple of double stacks so far. That's going to feel great for Squadix if they go uncontested. No little scouting moves from TSM, as the Ayu can't really abandon the Luna in lane either, so you do have that steady build-up for VP. Considering a more passive 5 here, you're not going to be able to intercept any of those stacks.
It would be very nice though, like if you did scout them out for TSM, like you do have a Lunar IO, so you could certainly look to try and steal those. Mind you, you may not have the best, say, kind of fight early on if VP realize that is happening, but no, even with your Leshrac, like if Brawl gets to a point where he rotates into that Radiant Triangle and sees all these stacks, you might just be able to swipe all them away from VP, which would be very detrimental for their end of things. Bottom lane, Kasane. Oh, he was being jumped again by Kiritich, but it seems like they're just going to leave him alone again. Now, Kiritich was getting rather lucky with some time locks, but doesn't seem to want to bother. In fact, never mind. He'll go now. Kasane, slowed up, trying to walk his way out. Is tankier with the Helm of the Iron Will, but it's not going to be enough. Kiritich gets first blood on the Void. And yeah, that's one of the best starts you could have asked for Kiritich, because he didn't have the best laning stage in terms of farm. That bonus gold's going to feel very nice for him.
It helps him catch up a bit. Still bottom netward core, but should start ramping up. Starts to hit a lot harder now. Good amount of agi and some attack speed to help him play aggressively with a slowed if you do have. Put a frost shield up.
Tomato.
Starting to clear some stacks out.
Tomato's going to be pretty careful here. Jive is there from Notice, just going underneath the top tier 1 tower. I think he might just be dead. Another chains are available for Notice, but he's got some help on the way. Tomato just kind of baiting him forward as now Notice needs a way up, and he misses the chains. He misses the chains. It was just a little bit too short in length, which is what she said. But you get my point, John.
I was waiting for that. I want to see how low of a hanging fruit you take.
I was setting you up, Jonathan, but you didn't take it.
No, I wanted to see what you do. I wanted to see what you do, because, you know, it's like, is he going to take it?
You know I can't help myself, John.
Yeah, and they can't help themselves in TSM either, finding a freebie for themselves. So, 2 kills in 7.5 minutes. The peak perfection of Dota right now, Mike. It's like we're watching a National Geographic documentary. It's an animal documentary right now. In the fields, watching a lichen in its natural habitat, farming up.
We're here with Jonathan Attenborough. Jonathan?
Now we're here in the wilds of the bottom lane. Look at the lichen, look at its form. The beast in its natural position, hunting down its prey. Even its build up for its cubs, but at some point these cubs grow up, Mike. They start to bite hard.
You have to work on the accent a little bit, John, but you're getting there.
I cannot do accents, you know I can't. It just sounds very wrong.
Oh, I like your American accent. Pretty good. You never turn it off, son. Bottom lane, in trouble. Kasane is probably just dead. A lot of damage being done to Kiritich. And you know what? Every time I say something about this bottom lane, it goes the opposite way. He's not just dead. He's fine.
Bless your heart, Mike. You've saved them. You've saved both of them. You have managed to influence. You should stop doing this, Mike. You're influencing the results of the game. You're destroying the integrity of the sport by having these players back off. Stop it.
Oh, what have I done? On top lane, you're going to see Brawl show himself here. Of course, the TA's taking all those stacks we talked about earlier. The Squadix will just take care of it. Doesn't leave the option for TSM to move in to try and take those away. The cores of TSM are having a very good time. Like, you kind of already mentioned this, but Bryle and of course Tomato are top of the net worth board right now with no real struggle. The thing is, though, the exact same thing happened last game around. To be absolutely fair to VP. Like, they had a terrible laning stage, but they just still won out the game in 30 minutes. So they may just not be concerned about this laning stage at all.
I don't think the slower pace harms VP at all. And you're running a slightly greedier draft with mid-TA and safe lane Void. Kind of want farm on both those heroes, and they are finding farm. Not that fast, but they're not being stopped from that build-up. You've got the Chrono ready and Gittich as well if he sees the opportunity. You're almost at the point where you have Chain Frost here as well. Or F and G. So, starting to line up. Clump up from TSM down bot though.
Gittich, he's got the time walk. Oh, Bra's coming in from the side though. It's only a level 1 time walk. He'll use it. He'll pop the Chrono. He found the Lesh, but he's going to try and TP with this. And he's going to be just fine. The lasso at least catching FNG. The Chrono committed to allow him to escape. Probably not the worst usage we've ever seen. Like, he knows how far behind he is right now. There's no point holding Chrono for a fight, because he's never going to use it. Not within the next couple minutes.
No, you don't really have anything to tie into your Chrono outside of maybe some Psyblades hits, maybe a couple of Chakrams. It's not the most straightforward for you to look for those kills. And you just, save your life, go back farming. You don't give a big kill out to TSM. TSM is starting to ramp up, though. Bryle just about has his full Bloodstone flying out now. So has that sustain in the front line with the IO being tethered up, and it'll be very hard to burst down Bryle. And you don't have the damage output yet. Squadix still looking for that blink into the Deso. There's no way to rip apart that IO chest yet. Your Timbersaw, noticed, is still trying to get to the point where he's a lot more durable, with some Spell Amp on the Kaya Sanj. So the early timing for TSM is lining up. We've got a lot of space out for Tomato, has the Mask of Madness into the Dragonlance, a lot of stacks here for Bryle. Again, like, this passive pace doesn't hurt VP, but you will reach your spikes a lot earlier on TSM, and once those spikes are achieved, that's when we should start seeing more towers melt. And in the mid, the top tier ones should start to go, some pressure onto the tier 2s start to come out, and the creep armory starts to get formed by Kasane. He has the Dominator up, working onto that Overlord, and once you've got the Ancient running around here with the Shapeshift up, it can be pretty hard to manage. Again, just a lack of damage overall early on for VP.
I mean, 12 minutes in, only 1-2 so far. 4k advantage for TSM. They are just still holding on to this nice net worth gap, as now you've got the mech up on Whitemon. Nice little spike for the IO. Mind you, Squadix has a blink up now, so he might want to make a jump in for this power rune. 12 minutes in, Ryle, nobody's gonna get lucky, it's up at the top side. But Brown now with the Chain Frost, he's copying a fair bit of damage as Whitemon going down almost, but not quite. The bouncers, they were so unlucky. Squadix is gonna drop. Seiyu's gonna go for a run, but Kasane will chase him down. That is such an unfortunate bounce. It went the other way, so Whitemon survives. And he keeps everyone else alive with him.
And again, the Lich tends to be a pretty favorable counter into an IO +1, but Ari's around to cop some damage, not quite enough coming out, and just not enough follow-through coming out from Squadix. It's a TA with Lightstone, Power Treads, and Blink. There's no real output right now to really rip apart Whitemon. They get to sustain true, that mid-pressure comes out, start to look up top. Good scan to spot out the triangle invasion here from TSM. A 5k lead coming out of 1-5 here. And, TSM starting to play to their strengths. It's the moment where they should start taking that early map pressure, start to shut down the side of VP, and start to prevent this arguably greedier lineup in VP from really taking off here.
That should help.
The smoke up down towards the bottom lane, Seiyu and FNG. Maybe looking to try and set up onto Kasane, who does not have the wolf form at the moment. Kasane, though, he seems to realize something is wrong. He backs off at the right time. Seiyu's going to see him for a moment. They're not going to have the... Maybe they will have their chance. Kasane moving back in now, feeling like he might just be safe. But no, answer is he is not. Kasane, though, he's got TPs coming in to try and help him out, but Kiritich does have Chrono if he needs to pop it. They'll gaze up Kasane, but they just don't have the damage. In fact, FNG, he just melts to Bryle and Kasane. The Wolves get the job done. And Seiyu, he's going to try to run. Eventually, they'll slow him up. Whitemon will leave on his own. And Bryle will stick around for another kill on the Lesh. That's the IO Lesh, man. Like, you try to go after a kill like Kasane, but it just takes such a long time that the relocate was there.
Invisibility.
Managed to get in, get the damage, dip out, find a couple of freebies, and applying pressure onto Kiritich, ensuring that, again, he's not the comfiest in just farming in this lane. They get control of the power rune as well. You run up on Tomato, you deny it away from Squadix. So no bottle top-ups, no sneaky plays he can try to get done here. All he can do is farm. It's basically what all the cores in VP are just doing. There's no one for these supports to play with. Until perhaps that Deso is up in Squadix. Just sitting back and farming. You do have space for Notice up top. So your Timbersaw is going to reach into that Blade Mail point very soon. You have some good ways of dishing some damage back towards Bryle. But you're not really stopping this map pressure. You're just grouping up onto the tier 2's full Overlord up now for Kasane as well.
You're just going to be very careful with this bottom lane. It'll be okay. You'll be able to back off as they never bother going for a split earth. Just too easy to dodge out for the Void. They know the Void's still hanging around this area. Problem is, you're quite reliant on Ari kind of making that initiation, and there's nothing like a blink up yet. So instead, TSM, they're going to try and focus on this bottom tier 2 tower. Kiritich is still there to hold the tier 2, though. Just go ahead and clear out the creep wave on his own. Virtus.pro not interested in making any kind of move right now, understanding TSM is definitely the stronger team at the moment. Especially with this Helm of the Overlord up on Kasane, he just wants to run everyone down. TSM now looking towards the mid-tier 2 tower instead, perhaps. Squad X. He's okay on the TA, he'll blink out of it.
Yeah. Just need to avoid on the side of VP. On the side of TSM, grouping up so hard means that they're not farming as efficiently some of these cores, but they are still maintaining that lead, so it's not hurting them in the biggest of ways. Still need that map pressure though, they're still sticking around at mid.
They are. This could be very dangerous. Brawl, Whitemon, they are being watched right now by Squadix. They do come in. Brawl, he may have gone a bit too far. Whitemon, he does pop the relocate, but he can get into the tether. Oh, he can. He will barely save the life of Brawl. Even through the chrono, as now they'll chase him down. VP, they've got to get out of there. FNG, he gets torn to shreds by the Lycan. And Seiyu, while he's trying to hold them back, it's not going to be enough. Noticed, he is down. 3 down for VP. TSM will drop nothing. Great save from Whitemon. In fact, we might see that later on in the save of the day, John.
Yeah.
The doc may have seen that one.
I certainly hope he has. That's quite the saving play from Whitemon. Very precise movement. The needle's in and the needle's out. Manages to take Brawl along. Going to start pressuring onto the high ground. I mean, this is still a Luna draft. Just kind of spam in. They'll aim for the top tier 2 instead. And this is the point where the map starts to feel really choked out for VP. Like, you're just not ready to fight on Kiritich. He's having to show up, but it's Mask of Madness Maelstrom. It's not enough.
FNG's in the middle of nowhere. He gets his frost shot on the tier 2 tower, but I don't think TSM really give a crap. They'll just take his life away, take the tier 2 anyway. And I think they're more than happy to just try for high ground. But they know VP can't really deal with them at the moment. Unless it's the perfect team fight, it's going to be very hard to force a defense here. You don't have an Ember Keeper of the Line either, like you did in Game 1 to try and defend high ground. You just don't have the high ground defense. Not yet anyway. But it seems like TSM will play it safe. Seeing how low Brawl was getting, they'll just retreat for now.
Back off. And just choking out the map, taking these tier 2s away. One last outer tower left down bot here for VP. Kiritich playing tag.
Yeah, they've got a reload as well. Kiritich going to be pretty cautious with the way he's going to try and get out of this. He'll try for the TP play on the low ground, and he's going to be fine. Brawl could not make it. Unfortunate for TSM, but they are still going for a fight towards the left of the map. Tomato playing quite aggressively, though. He's under vision right now, but they've got their own vision on that high ground. They're happy to fight around this area. TSM, they'll see Brawl, but without taking down Whitemon, Brawl is probably just not going to die.
No. You have to be able to rip apart the back line. And that has to come out from Squadix. Like this TA, with the early Blink Deso, it's got to rip apart these supports, or at the very least rip apart Whitemon somehow. You can find the angle in with a jump forward from Notice, but they're not finding the opportunities on the side of VP. Stuck at 1 kill, 1T11, 1-1-1. Into the Roche they go for TSM. Smoke out from VP. They have the Chrono. They've got the Chain Frost. But the Roche does fall pretty damn fast.
That it does. Roshan is basically just gone. They could still force a fight, but it doesn't seem like the best idea with the Aegis now up on TSM. Of course, they will hand that over to Brawl, so now he's basically got double lives if Whitemon wants to save him the first time. When I say double lives, I meant triple lives, obviously, as the Aegis is the double life. And TSM, they might try for that high ground again. In fact, Brawl looking to maybe cut off Squadix and Noticed here. Brawl will see them. The TA barely going to avoid the stun, but Brawl's still going to rush in on his own with the Bloodstone charges, trying to just get the damage off, but he gets rather low in terms of the HP pool. We'll make the jump in on Ari instead. The Batrider now being caught out, does get destroyed by the side of Virtus.pro. They'll hold the high ground, not allowing TSM to continue this fight. So VP actually find their second kill of the game 20 minutes in.
Managed to get it working. 2-11. TSM maybe playing a little bit too far forward, getting a little bit overconfident on Brawl providing that opening as Ari overextends to back that up. And VP just go back into the farm game. Still severely behind, 10k net worth. Needs so much more onto Kiritich, needs so much more onto Squadix. But they're hanging on. I mean, if this does boil down to a war of attrition, it does feel like if TSM don't start knocking on to the high ground in 10 minutes, then the game can start to feel a little bit awkward. You're trying to siege high ground up against a Lich, up against a Faceless Void, up against a Timbersaw who can keep clearing out creeps. It's not straightforward as the game scales on, even with its lead. For TSM, they've got to play around their power spike.
He's gonna go for a chrono. 3-man chrono's out. Kiritich will go right after Whitemon on the IO. Whitemon, he survives through it. Whitemon is alive. Kiritich, he is just dropping so darn quick. They've got him. Kiritich is down. He can't survive the onslaught. TSM, they'll find a 2-for-1. They do lose Kasane in the end. But it's still a pretty damn great fight for them. They'll go for a bit more now. Tomato. After the top racks he goes, lasso out onto Notice, they've got the Timber controlled up, and Notice he is just melting. Even with the reactive into the Frost Shield, it's just not enough sustain anymore.
No, just not enough. A little bit unfortunate for Kiritich. That was a big chrono, but his team wasn't ready to back him up fully. Doesn't manage to get the damage in. And positioning of TSM, having Whitemon all the way at the back, just means it's hard to lay that follow-up damage. Rax falls, Aegis still stands for Brawl. Still 2.5 minutes left in that Aegis as well. And, well, the Luna just gets to town. Tomato just gets to work up top. Not going to be able to fully commit just yet for mid. Respawns are fairly short. Well, they'll take their time, but they've gotten what they want. And
still 2 minutes
on the scoreboard.
2 minutes on the Aegis anyway. You know, like, Brawl's still got plenty of time to think about the secondary racks.
Just so much time. No need to rush in with all of this time left. After that, top rack was still 2.5. So you can just take control, keep farming up for the side of VP. And the issue now is you don't have Chrono for this fight. At least for a minute. You'll have a window where it's going to be back up, but Aegis will still be running. You really need to find Whitemon. There has got to be damage flying out there.
Oh, Notice, I don't know about that. He tries to make a jump on Brawl, but what was the idea? What were you going to do to get this kill? Because now you're the one being hunted. Oh. It's kind of the thing as a Timbersaw. Like, he might still feel invincible, but he's certainly not. He's 0-4-0, in fact. This has not been the greatest Timbersaw game we've ever seen. And TSM, they have dealt with it very effectively.
There's nothing early to deal with magic damage. Nothing like a pipe coming out, so Brawl's output's always relevant. And just high ground again.
Easy peasy. Frost Shield only going to do so much to slow this down. Well, Kasane even has the AC up now. Things are going to go even faster for TSM. But they are hesitating. The Timbersaw is back up in 5. So they have all 5 heroes very, very soon for VP. 45 seconds still left standing on the Aegis timer of Brawl. But it seems like they might just let this one run out.
Yeah, not the biggest deal in the world still for TSM. And they can just keep playing it safe. They'll go back for their Tormentor with Tomato and Whitemon. They've got the Sustain. They've got the Wisdom Rune to pick up as well, which they hand onto Tomato for a level 18 Spike Rush. And just go back in. Smoke out from VP. Everything's ready here.
They've got to find Whitemon. Like, in this chrono, they've got to kill off this IO. Kiritich is going to jump in on Tomato. Kiritich, though, immediately just needs to leave as Tomato just pops the BKB and Eclipse. They could still try to go back in now. 9 Eclipse and BKB are gone. Even the Wolf form was popped by Kasane. The VP drawing the lines out through the bottom lane. They run all the way down. They'll find Kasane on the Lycan. It's just not going to be that easy to catch him, though. Kasane is practically already out of there. He's left the building.
You need to find a good flank. There has got to be coordination with Squadix and Kiritich. Chrono onto the IO. Good angle for TA to lay the hits in. The IO's gone, but nothing's coming. And Squadix, he's had that Desolator for a long time here, Mike. Only the 4 stacks of damage coming out. Just been a very inactive game for the side of VP. And TSM, well, they're still in control. They've just got the map. They've got the map control. They've got the information coming out with the creep army. And they're just choking in VP. You're still at the bottom in terms of net worth, Kiritich, and Noticed. This is not where the Faceless Void wants to be. It needs so much more.
We're only 7 kills away from 3-2-2, by the way.
Yep.
Yes, you had notes. Very good.
Very close. We had 3.14 a while ago. 14. Very nice.
Very good. That's the old pie.
If only we had Pi Lidai.
Well, VP. Still looking at trying to push in this bottom lane, it seems. TSM. Just let Kasane go himself. VP are here as a squad. Kasane's just being annoying. He's just sending wolves in, which is classic Lycan play. Just force the rotations. Smoke out now from TSM as 3. Where are they heading? Into the mid lane they go, hoping somebody shows apart from noticed. You want Kasane, he's going to be jumped immediately. This is a big pickup. They'll get the chrono off. They've already found the Lycan, and now they're onto Bryle. The left track in huge trouble, but Wymon saves the day. Wymon, he will keep Bryle alive. Tomato, he's even going to find Kiritich. Oh boy. Bryle, he'll go in for more now. The flame break does knock them back and kind of save the life of the supports. TSM still hesitating for the racks, but Notice jumps in, handing over another free kill by the looks of it. Though no, he'll be able to get away for now. Going back on Bryle, but Bryle looking to turn, does not get the lightning storm off. So Notice will survive and Tomato goes down. What? Oh no, oh no, and Bryle jumped back in.
What's happening, man?
Oh, that's... I can feel Moon Meander shaking his head somewhere in Riyadh right now. I can feel it.
Sure it's just a head shake right now?
He might have punched the screen, I'm not gonna lie.
Yeah, there you go. That's more of it. Maybe punch the desk. You know, I think that's a desk slam moment right there.
Right.
They get baited in by Notice. The blade mail really starting to dish it in. With the output, no sustain coming out from Whitemon that time around. And that his mech was still on cooldown, so no flash heal coming through. They get punished on TSM for overstaying their welcome. Like, it started off really bad for VP too. Not getting that initial kill in Lesh, not finding Whitemon, but they split apart TSM and forced them to run in. So they don't find too much progress on the high ground. And that's the kind of fight that leads VP into clawing their way back into the game. And this space is void. If it's activity like that, builds into the BKD, into the MKB, hits its level 20 spike with the attack speed and chrono, you're gonna have issues. TSM, again, we said this at the 20-minute mark. If they don't find anything more by 30 minutes, then and this game is not any easier. It gets a lot easier for VP. They can't afford mistakes like that coming forward in the next few engagements here.
I was looking at Kiritich top lane again. Kiritich very far forward, does have Seiyu behind him, though he has no shards up for the lift back save. Kiritich still being chased down. He's gone too far. Ouch. He has no buyback. Neither did Seiyu. I thought maybe with the Rubik there, like, you could go for the lift back play, but he doesn't have the shards up. Very unfortunate for VP now. That should be at least a secondary lane of barracks. In fact, Lasso out, they've even caught the TA. Ari's found Squadix. They rush in with a relocate. It might just be another. No buyback available. Is that just it?
That should be it. It's gonna be the tier 4 is being sieged. It's a Luna. Doesn't take too long. They've got the fourth fight to stall out. Respawn not too far off here at the very least for Kiritich, so you can try for one last Chrono and Chain Frost play.
Here we go. Tier 4 tower is going down very, very fast thanks to Tomato's glaive bounces. Ancient now exposed. VP, they are trying to rush in and defend. There's still 45 seconds without their TA, but now they've got Kiritich with the Chrono up. He'll buy out the Maelstrom to boot. Excuse me, rather than Mjolnir. It looks like he something. Meanwhile, Noticed, getting quite low. Kiritich will go after Ari on the Batrider. Though Ari's still walking, but there's the Chrono. He found both supports with that. Trying to go after Wymon, but Wymon's just going to survive through the initial onslaught as Tomato just continues after the Ancient. He could not give a crap. He'll just pop the BKB and keep going. In fact, he even found Kiritich. Kiritich just drops right in front of his Ancient. And that's it. TSM at least draw out the series 1-1 here against VP. I believe both teams, I mean, again, they're not necessarily going to make it through to the playoffs, or rather the group stage guaranteed, but they do at least have their chance in the deciders.
Yeah, that does determine seeding. It was pretty important for VP to find a win, just to maybe climb up over Execration and face off against the lower seed in the side of Group B, but TSM gets to stay in their position up there. A really slow match between both teams. Honestly, it felt like both series were kind of on the slower end. This time around, TSM, it takes them a lot longer to play on the edge of their spike. They give out one engagement to the side of VP, but they clean up afterwards. They find the pickoffs they want. It's VP that starts to rest on their laurels after a win and farm too far forward in Kirtich. And with this draft, you were just aiming for such a slower game. It also felt like VP weren't able to coordinate too well with these chronos. Like, Kirtich would be so far forward, but then the damage just wasn't there. Squadix wouldn't be able to jump in on the back line, find an angle into the chrono. And it just felt like they couldn't play with that control at all. Like, their draft was not the best Faceless Void draft in terms of trying to play around that big teamfight spell. Needed a lot of precision in getting that control off.
Absolutely. Props to TSM, though, at least making this game to look a lot easier than Game 1 was, that's for sure. We're seeing that bad team fight they had, just trying to go for the high ground, or the team fight here, is TSM just all over the place in this second last team fight that we saw. This was kind of the saving grace for VP. It looked like this is when things were about to change, but just wasn't the case as they get picked off one by one, and or even the TA just trying to split push the mid lane, just trying to force the creep wave out, but it wasn't good enough. And eventually, you just go right after the head. You just go for the Ancient. Tomato had the BKB the whole time, with the IO right behind him tethered up. There was no way to deal with it. In fact, you see the Void, he just dies to the glaive bounces. I don't think Tomato even turned towards it.
No, and that chrono pop in the last fight, like, he came in with Mjolnir over finishing up the BKB, so one loosened beam, and Kirtich was forced to just run away. Couldn't finish that kill off onto Whitemon, and without the IO being taken out, like, that's just all your sustain still on hand there for the side of TSM. So really good rally into the game 2 here. Again, they do, I believe, they do secure their position for a better seeding here. Placing, according to the scoreline right now, number 3, but I believe Entity can maybe sway that result a little bit more as they play their series out. Yeah. So they have the better seed for these decider matches. That can determine the fate of some teams, you know, who you match up against in some of these pivotal best of 3s. It's a big one to toss up the fate, but VP will have to play from the 5th position, second to the bottom of their groups for seeding. So maybe a little bit tougher for them going into the deciders due to these results here, Mike.
It could be. We'll have to wait and see what Entity does do, but we do have another series here, Jonathan, coming right up. I believe it's Team Secret up against 9 Pandas, which is going to be hopefully a very fun series to watch, because both teams are still playing for a chance to make it straight through to the group stages of the Riyadh Masters 2023. 9 Pandas in a much better position, though, sitting in second place, tied with Extreme Gaming at the moment. So if they can secure a 2-0 victory over Team Secret, they basically guarantee themselves a spot directly through to the group stages. If they lose, however, things could get rather spicy, because then Secret might still be in contention, I believe, to make it through. So everything's still very open. It's all about securing 2-0s in this next series. I do believe they definitely do not want to draw on either side.
Yeah.
So what we'll do
this is the results they need. Secret needs a 2-0, and OG needs a 2-0. If you end up with that, you have some really strange ties going on. I'm not sure if we have tiebreakers for these, because again, we're going straight into the decider matches. I don't know how that's determined, but it leads to some really funky results here to close out the group stage.
We'll figure it out on the fly. We'll figure out how they're going to decide as a... You know what? Just bring back the 1v1 mids. That's what I say. Screw the decider matches. Just 1v1 mid. You know, that's the old school way of doing it. Both SF. No messing around. Still, with that, Jonathan, maybe we'll have time to have a 1v1 mid, because we're going to head off to a short break. And of course, right after that break, we're going to be back with Team Secret up against 9 Pandas game number 1. We'll see you all again very, very